Your simulation days are over, Trooper. This is a real battle.
Launching March 14th. Pre-order now.
Here is a check with my name on it. Write down any number on this piece of paper and I will pay it.
Alright boys and girls, I hope you're having a lovely day. Okay, today lads, I want to talk about the best and worst Star Wars Battlefront games. Now for those that don't know, I'm an absolutely massive Star Wars Battlefront fan, okay, especially the old ones, okay, particularly Battlefront 2. I have so much nostalgia for Battlefront 2, it's just one of the most iconic games ever and I just adore it. And obviously recently there was an announcement for Star Wars Battlefront Classics Collection, and when I saw it, my eyes lit up. I was like, oh my god, this is exactly what I need in my life. And that game is going to be releasing in a few days time, okay, I think it comes out on the 14th of March, okay, and I'm so excited to be just playing the old Battlefront games online. Like, I literally can't wait. It's going to be so exciting.
This is exactly what I've been waiting for. This is exactly, I don't mean to sound like Cat Williams, but this is exactly what I've been waiting for.
So to celebrate, boys, I thought, why not just talk about all of the Battlefront games, okay? And there's actually quite a few of them. Like, you may be surprised at how many Battlefront games there are. There's actually quite a few. Some of them are better than others, I will admit, boys. They're not all perfect games, okay? Some of them I like more than others, and yeah, I just figured let's go through all of them, you know? I want to have a little discussion about all of these, talk about some of the nostalgia and stuff, and just kind of give you guys my opinions on all of these Battlefront games. So yeah, it should be pretty exciting. So I figure let's kick things off then, boys, naturally with the original Star Wars Battlefront. Okay then boys, so Star Wars Battlefront 1 was a bit of a weird one for me because I did grow up with this game, but I actually bought this game after I'd already played Battlefront 2. My very first Star Wars Battlefront game was Battlefront 2. I got that game for Christmas and I absolutely adored it. It was like one of my favorite games. I just love Star Wars to death. So I just used to play Battlefront 2 all the time, okay? But I did pick up Battlefront 1 because I saw it really cheap in game. This is back in the day, you know, when game was actually good and not complete dog shit. So yeah, I picked this game up for $4.99 at game. It was like really cheap and I asked my mum if I could get it. She said it's fine. And I take this game home and I play it and I'm enjoying it, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this isn't as good as Battlefront 2, you know, and part of me did just kind of want to play more Battlefront 2. But with that said though, boys, I did still enjoy my time with it, you know. I didn't spend as much time with this one as I did with Battlefront 2. I played hours and hours of Battlefront 2. I did still play this one a fair bit though, but in the back of my mind, I'm just thinking Battlefront 2 does this better, Battlefront 2 does that better, you know. It was hard to really appreciate this game because I'd obviously played the sequel, and the sequel is just, it's better. It's better in almost every way. But that's not to disrespect this game at all, as this game is still incredible, okay? And for the first outing, it's really a great game. Like, one of the things I really love about this game is the historical battles mode. It's pretty much like the story mode that is with this game, and then pretty much it just lets you like revisit some of the like iconic battles throughout the Star Wars universe. So, like, for example, you got like the Battle of Hoth in here, you got like the Battle of Naboo, you know, just really iconic moments throughout the Star Wars like prequel trilogy and original trilogy, and you just get to like relive some of those battles. And it was definitely like my favorite part about going back to this game was doing those, and you get like these like low res cutscenes before you get into the battles, and they're like scenes from the movie, but yeah, they're like super low res, and I don't know, it got me nostalgic, you know, because the PS2 used to do that sort of thing all the time with like especially like licensed games and stuff.
Those were the days.
Now what I do also love about this game is there's like some maps that are in this game that aren't in Battlefront 2, like for example you've got Bespin that's in this game but not in Battlefront 2. You've also got Tatooine Dune Sea, which is exclusive to the first Battlefront game. I really enjoyed that map, and again it's not in the second one. I'd say maybe like the only thing that like disappointed me with this game was maybe just like the Galactic Conquest is a little bit it's a little bit mid in this game. It's just done way better in Battlefront 2, and I know I keep comparing the two of them, but it's hard not to. With that said though, lads, this is still an amazingly good game, okay? It's aged well in a lot of ways, and it's still very playable today. You could easily still play this game, you know, load up a bit of that instant action, get some of those iconic maps, and just have a good time with it. It's still an amazing game, but it's just not quite as good as that sequel. Alright, and boys, speaking of the sequel then, let's talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2. Alright, so I feel like I've already talked about this game a ton while I was talking about Battlefront 1. It was just hard not to compare the two. But yeah, this is like easily one of my favorite games of all time. I have so much nostalgia for this game, but not just nostalgia, boys. I still play it today. I still boot this game up and play it often. It's just one of those games that is just completely timeless. It is a perfect game in my opinion. I feel like I could make the argument that Battlefront 2 is the like best sequel of all time, alright? Because it just improves Battlefront 1 in so many ways. Like, first of all, you've got space battles, okay? I mean, it's a big part of Star Wars is space battles. That was newly introduced in Battlefront 2, it's not in Battlefront 1. And the second thing that's in this game that I think is possibly the biggest thing is the fact that you can play as Jedis and Sith and just other characters from the Battlefront universe. In the first one, you pretty much are focused on the Stormtroopers and the Rebels and the Clone Troopers and shit, but with this game, you get all of the Jedis and Sith and, you know, bounty hunters and stuff, and it makes the game so much more fun. Like, you'll be having a really good game, you'll be absolutely annihilating your enemies, and all of a sudden it will pop up, play as Darth Maul, and it's like, it says yes or no, as if you're gonna pick no. You're gonna press yes, obviously. You start playing as Darth Maul, and of course, you just start whipping Clone Trooper ass. Like, you just annihilate everybody. It's just the most fun thing ever. You can play this game with your friends as well, with that couch co-op. I used to play this game with my mates all the time. It was just incredibly fun, but it wasn't just like a co-op experience. You could easily play this game on your own, and it's still a great time. Not to mention the fact that you've got a much improved Galactic Conquest, like I was saying. Like, the Galactic Conquest in this game is just one of the most addictive game modes ever. It's kind of like, for those who haven't played it, it's a little bit of like a strategy game sort of thing. You have to like invade different planets, and if you get a victory, then you get like control of that planet, and the aim of the game is to have control of all the planets. And also, like, you get credits and you can spend them on different boosts, so like you could have like the Player's Jedi boost or the Garrison boost. It's just a really addictive mode that is just so fun, and I play it all the time even today. So if that wasn't enough for you guys, you've got even more here. Like, you've got new maps in this game, there's a story mode in this game which is utterly fantastic. The story mode here was called Rise of the Empire, and it was pretty much just like the story of Order 66 and stuff. It's a really, really good story though. It's really well told and narrated. And the Order 66 mission specifically on Coruscant was just, it was so amazing, and it just gave new light to Order 66 and how tragic it was. I would say if you're gonna play this game, you have to play that campaign for that mission alone, because it's like super dark, but yeah, it's worth experiencing. And then finally, I've got to talk about heroes versus villains, okay, which is one of my favorite parts of this game. Now, back in the day, lads, I would play this game all the time. You know, I spent hours and hours and hours playing this game, but funnily enough, it took me so long to discover heroes versus villains. I didn't even know it was a thing until I'd played God knows how many hours of this game. I was around my mate's house, you know, playing some Battlefront 2, and we were loading up some instant action, as you do, you know, and as I'm loading up the maps, I noticed on Mos Eisley it says heroes versus villains, and I'm like, I've never seen that before in my entire life. I've never seen that. So naturally, I pick it, you know, I want to see what this is all about, and then I noticed that it's literally like all the different heroes taking on all the different villains, you know, like you've got Darth Maul fighting Obi-Wan, you've got Mace Windu taking on Jango Fett, and I'm like, this is the greatest game mode of all time.
I love you, bitch.
I didn't even know it was a thing, and when I discovered it as a kid, I just played it addictively, endlessly. I would play it on my own, I'd play it with my friends. I adored it, okay? And again, the fact that I discovered it authentically, it was just so much nostalgia, guys. I just love that mode. So yeah, if you can't tell, lads, I like this game just a little bit, you know? I like this game just a tiny little bit, but no, in all seriousness, this is one of my favorite games of all time, and if you've never played Battlefront 2, just play it, man. It is perfect. And finally, lads, before I forget, you also have the PSP version of this game, which is great for like on-the-go Battlefront 2. I used to play this game camping and stuff and have a great time with it. It's not quite as good as the PS2 version. It doesn't have the story mode, unfortunately. You've got no Rise of the Empire. Plus, there's less maps on the PSP version, but still, it's worth getting if you want to play this game on the go, which, you know, I mean, who doesn't want to play Battlefront 2 on the go? Alright then, boys, let's talk about one of the spin-off games, okay? Let's talk about Elite Squadron for the DS. Okay then, boys, so I've actually got a fair bit of nostalgia for this game right here, okay? This is quite a nostalgic one. I mean, obviously, like, I've got a little nostalgia for Battlefront 2, but this is like a close second, I feel like, when it comes to nostalgia. The reason for that, lads, is obviously I was a huge Star Wars fan growing up. I just adored Star Wars. I loved Battlefront 2. I would play it all the time. And I remember seeing this game in-game, and it was like £20, and I had birthday money. And you guys know what that means, okay? When you got birthday money, you're buying video games. And obviously, I wanted to play Star Wars Battlefront on the go. I didn't have a PSP, so Battlefront 2 on the PSP was not an option. I only had the DS and PS2. But yeah, for 20 quid, I was like, yeah, I'm spending my birthday money on this game because I want to have Battlefront on the go. And when I got it home and started playing it, I mean, it's not quite the same as Star Wars Battlefront 2. I mean, it's on the Nintendo DS. It's obviously going to be very different, but I still remember having a lot of fun with this game, you know? I enjoyed it quite a lot. I will say, going back to it though, because I've obviously been playing this game over the last few weeks, it's not really, at least to me, it doesn't really feel like a Star Wars Battlefront game, even slightly. Like, the gameplay gameplay here is completely different. It's basically like a run and gun game. That's like the best way I could describe it. It just plays nothing like the original Star Wars Battlefront games. Even the game modes here are completely different. Like, you've got instant action here, so you'd expect it to sort of be similar to like Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, but it's like completely different. You can only do 4 players per match, and you can only play like TDM or free-for-all and stuff, so it just doesn't really have that Battlefront kind of feel to it. It feels closer to something you would experience in a game like Medal of Honor as opposed to Battlefront. Like, if that kind of makes sense, probably not. Plus, you've only got like 4 maps to choose from, so not a lot of variety when it comes to the matches. You do have different classes in this game. I'd say that's like the one thing about this game that is definitely very Battlefront, is the different classes. So you've got like the spy one, which you have like dual pistols, which is cool. You've got the heavy class, which is my personal favorite. You get like a minigun, and it just like, it's a really good class. And also, what's really different about this game is like the space battles. You do have them in this game, but they're very basic, you know, that you definitely don't get a very good space battle experience with this game. Like, basically you can only control the spaceships left or right, like you can't go up or down, so it's very simple. I get that it's on the DS and you can't expect too much from it, but I don't know, I don't feel like it's that much to ask for it to be like fully 3D. So yeah, the space battles are here, so I suppose I can't be too mad, but yeah, they're very basic and simple, so it's a little bit disappointing in that regard. But yeah, if you want to play this game in 2024, lads, what you want to be getting this game for is the story mode, okay? Because the story mode is definitely the highlight with this game, and this game has like a fully fledged story, and it's actually not bad at all. It's not a perfect story by any means. It's not exactly Empire Strikes Back level of storytelling, but yeah, it's pretty good. It's not bad at all, especially for a DS game. It takes you roughly about 3 or 4 hours to beat, and basically you play as like a clone trooper called, I think he's called X1, or is he called X2? He's got like a brother called X2, I think, and he's called X1. Or he's X2 and his brother's X1.
Confusion of the highest order.
But yeah, basically you play as a clone and you go through like Order 66 and stuff, and you're killing like Jedis and shit. And after that, X1 has like a lot of guilt and he decides to join the Rebel Alliance, and you go through different events throughout the original trilogy. Meanwhile, his brother X2 is like fully committed to the Empire and he becomes a Sith, and somehow they've both got like Force powers as well. I forgot to mention, like, they're clone troopers, but they still can use the Force. It's very weird. So yeah, on the whole, lads, I did enjoy my time going back to this one, okay? It's not exactly perfect. I wouldn't even necessarily even see it as like a Star Wars Battlefront game. It feels very different to the Star Wars Battlefront games that I've played, but still, I think it's worth playing if you've got a Nintendo DS, and yeah, it's a unique one, but yeah, I would recommend it. Okay then, lads, I guess next up we'll talk about Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron, but for the PSP.
Get to the cannon! Take out those ships!
Okay then, boys, so unlike the DS version, I have zero nostalgia for this one, okay? I never played this one growing up. This was actually a recent purchase. I bought this game, you know, specifically for this video. Yeah, it's definitely not quite what I had in mind, you know? It's not quite what I expected this game to be. It's very different to the DS version, like, very different. I knew the gameplay was going to be different, you know, because obviously the PSP is a lot more powerful than the DS. That kind of goes without saying, but there's all sorts of different changes with this one. It's almost a completely different game. Like, for example, the story mode here, okay? Now, you'd expect the story mode to be pretty much exactly the same as the DS one, but what's weird about the story here, lads, is that the story is different to the DS version, in that the DS version is way more fleshed out than the PSP one. The PSP story here is like the same, but it's like half the length for the DS one. The DS one, it just has way more detail in the story, and it actually makes like some coherent sense, whereas in the PSP one, it doesn't even really make any sense. It just like skips along until the end. Obviously, I've played the DS one, so I kind of understood what was going on in the story, but if you've never played the DS one, only played the PSP one, the story is going to make very little sense, because it just goes from one event to another, and then before you know it, the game ends. You're like, what the fuck just happened? But yeah, you can finish the story here in like 2 hours, and it's just weird. It's a weird way of doing it. I don't really know why the DS one just had the better version of the story. It's just, I mean, it's just weird, isn't it? Like, you just wouldn't expect that. But yeah, like I was saying, boys, the gameplay here is obviously going to be different. The DS obviously is not as powerful as the PSP, so yeah, gameplay-wise, it's very different. This game plays much more like a traditional Battlefront game. It doesn't play quite as fluently as Battlefront 2, especially in like the melee department. Meleeing in this game is genuinely terrible. I remember there was a specific moment in the story where you have to fight General Grievous and a couple of Magna Guards, and yeah, I was losing my shit because the camera was spazzing around everywhere, and it was just terrible. Like, the melee combat in this game is not good, unlike like Battlefront 2, for example. However, on a brighter note, the space battles here are a lot better than they are in the DS version of this game. Like, this game actually has like full-on space battles where you can control the spaceships properly, not just left or right. So that was nice that we could actually do proper space battles here. The gunplay is pretty good. Again, not quite as good as, let's say, Battlefront 2. It's not quite as fluent. You have like a weird lock-on system with this game that makes it less fluent. Rather than you sort of like shooting an enemy and then it auto locks on, you just have to hold a lock-on button and shoot. So not quite as good as like Battlefront 2, but still the gunplay here is pretty decent. It's not bad at all. Unlike the DS version here, boys, you do have Galactic Conquest. However, I didn't really play it because, truth be told, I was just completely fucking dumbfounded by it. I just didn't even understand how to play it. It's completely different in the Battlefront 2 version, so I was just genuinely like confused. I was like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? I just didn't get it. Like, maybe I'm stupid, but I just didn't understand what you were supposed to do.
Stupid motherfucker right there. Everyone point at the stupid boy.
Another weird difference about this game is like how this game saves your progress, like in the story. Like in the DS version, you get a checkpoint and that saves your progress. Like you can just turn the game off and it will save your progress at any checkpoint. With this game, you have to finish a mission for it to save your progress. If you get a checkpoint and turn off your PSP, then it's not going to save your progress. And it's like, why? It's just a weird thing because, you know, the idea of portable gaming is that you can just pick it up and play and turn it off at any given moment. And also another difference with this game is the instant action here. The instant action is not like it is in the DS version. It like kind of plays like an actual Battlefront game in instant action. And there's not a ton of modes here, but you do have Conquest, thankfully, which is obviously like the main thing you're gonna want to play when you're doing instant action. You do also have the option to play heroes versus villains. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Conquest and heroes versus villains, that's a win-win. And it's also worth mentioning with instant action, you do have a ton of maps to choose from, okay? The DS version, you've only got those 4 maps, like I was saying. With this one, you get tons of variety with the maps, so instant action is definitely a dub. So yeah, overall, boys, very weird port here, because you would think that this would just be a complete home run, and it would be way better than the DS version, but there's parts of the DS version I like, and there's parts of the PSP version I like, and I almost want to combine the best bits of both, and then have an amazing, incredible game. But on the whole, it ends up being a mostly good experience, but then there's just certain things that bother me about it. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's like my favorite Battlefront game, but it's still good, and if you've got a PSP, then I would recommend it. Okay then, lads, next up, let's talk about Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron.
In an all-new storyline, where you bring the Empire to its knees. Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron.
Okay then, lads, so I've got to be 100% honest with you guys in regards to this game. It wasn't my favorite Battlefront. I'd even maybe go as far as to say it's my least favorite Battlefront game we've talked about so far. Like, it's one of those games where there's nothing about it that's particularly awful, but it doesn't really do anything that I would make me want to really recommend it to you guys. It does play very similarly to the Elite Squadron on the PSP, but in my opinion, Elite Squadron is just a better game. It just plays better in a lot of ways. Elite Squadron is not drastically better in regards to the gameplay. The gameplay, I mean, is pretty similar, but yeah, it just doesn't play quite as well. This game does have a full-on campaign similar to Elite Squadron, but it's I mean, it's alright, I suppose. It's not bad. It tells the tale of this unit called Renegade Squadron and how they were formed and basically their role throughout the original trilogy. It's a fine story, I suppose. It's not bad by any means, but it's not exactly something that I would say you absolutely have to play. And also similar to Elite Squadron, this game does have Galactic Conquest, but once again, it was just so confusing to me. I don't know why they didn't just literally do the exact same Galactic Conquest that they did in Battlefront 2. It just works so well in Battlefront 2, and I don't know why they felt the need to change it, because it was so perfect in Battlefront 2. It was simple, but also, like, you know, there was a decent amount of strategy to it. It was great. It was so fun, and they just, for some reason, changed it, and it just confused me, and I'm stupid, so I was just like, yeah, I'm just not bothering with that. If I want to play Galactic Conquest, I'll just play Battlefront 2. You do have instant action here in Renegade Squadron, which, obviously, you know, we gotta love a bit of instant action, but yeah, it's not great. It's just not as good as the other games I talked about. Like, you've got Conquest, which, I mean, of course, you've got to have Conquest in there. You've got Capture the Flag, which I suppose I'll take. And then you've also got, like, Hero Capture the Flag, which is basically the same thing, but with heroes and villains and shit. Normally, that would be a good thing, you know? I'd be like, yes, you gotta love a bit of heroes and villains, but the way that the Jedis and Sith control in this game is just really clunky, and the animations are weird. Like, when you're swinging your lightsaber, it just doesn't feel natural like it does in Battlefront 2, for example. Like, in Battlefront 2, when you hit someone with your lightsaber, you feel the impact, you know? You almost feel like you're slaughtering people. You feel like Anakin when he's in front of younglings. Hey, That's fucked up. But anyway, the lightsaber combat just doesn't feel very good in this game. I mean, it didn't feel incredible in Elite Squadron, but it just feels super clunky in this one. So yeah, on the whole, lads, it's just not an amazing Star Wars Battlefront game, you know? It's not a terrible game by any means, but there's just better Star Wars Battlefront games that you could pick, and I really don't see much reason to choose this game over other Battlefront games. Even on the PSP, I would definitely recommend Elite Squadron over it, and of course, you could just play Battlefront 2, so I see very little reason to play this one. Alright then, boys, next up, let's talk about Star Wars Battlefront for the PS4.
Your pathetic rebellion ends here.
Alright then, boys, let's go back in time a little bit here, okay, because I do have a fair bit of nostalgia for Star Wars Battlefront on the PS4. I know it wasn't everybody's cup of tea or anything, and it definitely wasn't perfect. It doesn't hold a candle to Battlefront 2 on PS2, or even Battlefront 1 for that matter. But yeah, I do have some fairly fond memories of this game, okay, because I used to play this game back when I was at college, and yeah, I just remember having a really good time with it. It's one of those games where me and the boys would play this all the time, and obviously when you play a game with your mates, it always makes the game way better than it actually is. You could literally play a game where you play as a piece of dog shit and you run around in circles, and if you played it with mates, it would be a better game. But yeah, weird tangent aside, boys, yeah, I had fun with this one, okay? Was it perfect? No, it had a lot of problems. There was definitely a lack of content here. That was like the biggest problem here. There was pretty much zero single player content here, which is obviously a big L, like Star Wars Battlefront, like the original games. A lot of my time was spent playing single player, so for this game to have really nothing to offer when it comes to single player stuff was incredibly disappointing. There's no story mode here at all. There's no galactic conquest. There's literally nothing you can do single player wise other than doing some challenges, but who the fuck wants to do that? So yeah, the fact that this game had zero single player content, you would think that it would have loads of multiplayer content, but even in that regard, this game didn't even have that much to offer. This game had significantly less heroes and villains to choose from, unlike Battlefront 2 where there was tons of freaking heroes and villains. Like Battlefront 2 let us play as Coyote-Mundi and his big ass forehead.
I'm like, what did he say fuck me for?
In this one, obviously you got like the basic characters like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, but like a lot of like the weird obscure characters are all DLC. And that's just a classic EA move right there, you know, to put loads of characters behind DLC. It's just typical. So yeah, I'm making it sound like I hated this game, but honestly, I did have fun with it, because like I said, I used to play this game a lot with the boys. We used to just basically play heroes versus villains. That was all we did. Heroes versus villains was different in this game as it was to Battlefront 2. Like in Battlefront 2, you would basically just have all the different heroes and all the different Sith and villains and stuff, and they would just go head to head. Like you'd have Count Dooku bending over Mace Windu and giving his ass a nice slap. That got a little bit sus there, I won't lie, but yeah, Battlefront 1 is basically you got a team of 6 versus a team of 6, and only 3 of you can be heroes or villains. The other 3 would either be a stormtrooper or a rebel. And basically you would have a round, and the round would end when like one team manages to defeat all the heroes or the villains, if that makes some sense. Not really, I'm trying to make it make sense, but it kind of doesn't. But anyway, boys, regardless, me and the boys, we had a ton of fun with that game mode. We used to play it all the time. I remember me and my friends back in the day, we used to laugh a lot if one of us had to play as the Emperor. I don't know why the Emperor was just really bad in this game, or at least that's what I thought. The Emperor just sucked to me at least, and all my friends would agree. So if one of us had to play the Emperor on Heroes vs Villains, it was always quite funny, because you would just get absolutely fisted, like, because he didn't have a lightsaber for some reason. All he had is like the lightning power. So yeah, you would just get fucking destroyed by Luke Skywalker, and it was just hilarious. So yeah, even though EA tried their absolute hardest to sabotage this game, I had a lot of fun with it back in the day. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I will say I did try to play it the other night and, you know, try and relive some of those memories. It didn't quite work out. For one, there's barely anybody playing this game, so if you want to find a game, it's really fucking difficult. You have to sit there for ages. The only game mode I was actually able to find a game in was Heroes vs Villains. I got fisted badly, okay? There was just literally, it was like half lobby filled, and they were all sweat, and they just destroyed me.
I'm good.
Bro, you okay?
I'm good, bro. You geeking, bro. I'm good.
Bro.
But get off me. I'm good, bro.
So yeah, that was a pretty quick session of Battlefront. I quit halfway through the game. I was like, nope, let's not tarnish my decent memories with this game. Let's just end it there. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a life lesson at times, you know. Sometimes you gotta just let the memories live in the past. You don't wanna try and go back and relive the memories, because sometimes it goes exactly how that went, and it wasn't good. So yeah, on the whole, lads, not the most amazing Battlefront game by any means, okay? It's nowhere near as good as the originals, of course, but I still, despite it all, I still had a good time with this back in the day. Not so much now, though. Alright, now, boys, let's finally end this video by talking about Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PS4. Okay then boys, let's go back in the past again, okay? I remember when this game got announced, and I'm not gonna lie, I was actually pretty damn hyped for it, okay? Because it just seemed like EA was listening, you know? They were trying to make Battlefront 1 a better game. For one, they were offering single player content, okay? There was gonna be a full-fledged campaign with this game. So immediately, I'm like, yes, EA is actually, they're doing something that's good. Secondly, they were gonna add prequel content, okay? For some reason, Battlefront 1 had 0 prequel content, which is a stupid idea because the prequels are cool. We gotta get some prequel love in here. So yeah, this was looking like it was gonna be an actually really good sequel, and I was super excited for it. And then when I got the game, not so much. So yeah, I think it kind of goes without saying this game was controversial when it released, okay? This game was a massive controversy when it came to microtransactions. And while it'd be easy to sit here and tell you, like, that the reason I didn't really like this game was because of the microtransactions, that's not really the reason, to be honest. Obviously, it's not cool that this game decided that they were going to put, like, skill cards in, you know, in loot boxes. Like, that's just a stupid idea from EA. I mean, it's classic EA, though. That's the sort of thing they do. Honestly, the reason I didn't really like this game is that none of my friends really played it that much. You know, we used to play Battlefront 1 all the time, but for some reason Battlefront 2, like, we all had it, but none of my friends would ever play it. We pretty much just played Call of Duty the whole time, so I just never really had anyone to play this game with, and that's kind of why I didn't play it that much. But yeah, like I said, boys, this game did have single player offerings, okay, so I obviously could have played this game single player, and I did play through the campaign, and it was alright, you know, it wasn't the worst campaign in the world, definitely not the best though. It starts off really strong. You play as Iden Versio, who's like a member of the Empire, she's like a commander, so immediately it's like, oh, this is actually interesting, we're playing as the bad guys here, I want to see where this goes. But unfortunately it gets super predictable, and like halfway through we decide that we're going to be good guys now. It's just like, I don't know, I just sort of lost interest at that point. I will give the campaign some credit though. There's a really awesome mission in this game where you play as Luke Skywalker, and it's absolutely fantastic. I won't spoil it for those of you that haven't played it, because I definitely think it's worth playing the campaign for this mission alone, but it's just a perfect representation of Luke Skywalker's character. The people that made this game just clearly understood Luke's character, okay, and I feel like Rian Johnson could have took some fucking notes when he was making The Last Jedi.
What the fuck did you say, you goddamn slut?
So yeah, honestly, lads, the campaign, not the most amazing campaign in the world, but that one mission alone was so good that I would honestly recommend it on that alone. So yeah, other than that, lads, that's pretty much it when it comes to this game. I did try to play this game this week, you know, obviously in preparation for this video, I was trying to get some games. You can get games on this game pretty easily, it's not that hard to get games, but it's just filled with sweat. The only people still playing this game are just mega sweaty, and I just was not in the mood for it, boys. Every time I'd get into a game, I just got fucking fisted. And I would just get into a game excited to play the game. I'm like, yeah, Star Wars Battlefront, I fucking love it. And I'd die like 500 million times, I'd get 0 kills. And I was just like, do I really need this? Not really, you know? I can just go back and play Battlefront 2 on the PS2 and have actual fun. So yeah, I won't lie, lads, going back to it didn't go super well. It went a little bit better than Battlefront 1 did, but not much, to be honest with you. Going back to this game was not exactly great. So yeah, overall, boys, Battlefront 2, bit of a weird one for me here, because I just had a weird experience with it when I was playing it when it came out. It's okay, I suppose, but it's just not as good as the originals, and that's why I'm so excited for that Classics collection, okay? Because I just can't wait to play the originals, but play them online. It's just gonna be so exciting. Okay then, lads, so that is my opinion on all of these different Star Wars Battlefront games, okay? There's quite a few games there, and honestly, I feel like I've been talking to you guys forever, so I'm gonna let you guys go. But before we do that, just let me know in the comments, what is your favorite Star Wars Battlefront? I would love to know in the comments. Other than that as well, lads, let me know if you're excited for that Classics collection. I know I am, so I want to know if you guys are excited as well. And yeah, I'll let you guys go. Subscribe here if you're new, and I'll see you guys for the next one, alright? Peace.